Students, and welcome to your economics class. Students, do you all remember what we did in our last class? Well, I'm sure you all remember. In our last class, we did our revision on the topic physical capital, which is the third most important factor of production. So we came to understand the meaning of capital. What is capital? Anything which is created by human beings which can then be used to produce other goods and services. So that is considered as capital. So students, capital is broadly divided into human capital and physical capital. So in the last class, we did our revision on physical capital and its various subtypes. So what are the various subtypes of physical capital? Fixed capital and working capital. So students, fixed capital means the money which is invested in the buying of fixed assets like buildings, plants, machineries, the various equipments, land, the devices, etc. And students, what is working capital? Working capital means the day-to-day requirements of any production activity. After that, students, we went on to compare the relative importance of physical capital and working capital. So students, after comparing both, we came to know that both are equally important in any production activity. If physical capital serves the strategic purpose, it is working capital that serves the operational purpose. Physical capital serves the long-term needs, but working capital serves the short-term or the day-to-day needs. Physical capital is costly, whereas working capital is less costly. But students, both are complementary to each other. One cannot do without the other. So students, this is what we discussed in our last class. So today we shall be discussing about the other important type of capital, that is human capital. So students, without further delay, let us start with our today's class. Well students, the learning objectives of human capital is to be able to know the meaning of human capital. That means we should be able to understand the meaning and the concept of human capital. Also students, we should be able to analyze why it is considered as so important. Also students, from the study of human capital, we should be able to draw a comparison between physical and human capital. So students, after today's class, we shall be able to know the concept of human capital. We shall also be able to know why is it considered as so much of importance. Also students, we shall be able to compare between physical and human capital. Well, what is human capital, students? Human capital is the attributes of a person that are productive in some economic context. So students, human capital means all the qualities that are possessed by an individual that makes him a productive member of the society. Productive means when a person can add something to the society, when a person can contribute something to the society, when he can add value to the society as well as to his own life, that's when the person is considered as a human capital. So students, human capital is the stock of competencies. Competency meaning the expertise of doing something in a specific field. So it is the stock of competencies, knowledge, social and personality attributes, including creativity, embodied in the ability to perform labor as well as to produce economic value. So students, human capital is the combination of the competencies or the expertise, knowledge, the various social and personal qualities, the attributes, creativity meaning the ability to develop something new, to create something new, to make innovations, right? So when a person possesses all these qualities, that's when he is considered as a human capital, because that's when he is able to perform labor and in turn is able to add value to the economy of a country. So students, human capital is very much essential for the development of any country. Just as a country can turn physical resources into physical capital, like land into a manufacturing unit, it can also turn human resources into human capital, like the students into human capital who can turn into productive assets for the country, such as scientists, astronauts, doctors, etc. So students, just like we can convert physical resources into physical capital, for example, we can convert a plot of land which is left unused to do something productive, right? So just as we can convert some physical resource into physical capital, in the same way we can also convert human resource into human capital. Human resource means the people, the students. You all are the human resource. So in the future, you all are going to add value to the society by becoming a productive member of the society. So you all are the future stars. You all will become doctors, engineers, you all will become astronauts, and you all will carry a good name for the society. So that's when human resource will be converted into human capital. So students, the society needs sufficient capital in the form of competent people who have themselves been educated and trained. So students, the first and foremost criteria for creating human capital is to have education and training. This means that we need investment in human capital out of human resources. So students, how can we create human capital? By investing in people, by educating them, by training them, by making them capable. So if we invest in the people today, they will be able to have greater returns in the future by becoming a productive and a fruitful member of the society. So students, let us now assess the differences between physical capital and human capital. Physical capital has physical construction. It can be seen, touched and easily sold. So students, physical capital can be measured, it can be seen, it can be touched, right? It can be sold. Whereas students, human capital cannot be seen. These are the qualities that an individual possesses. The quality of being intelligent, the quality of being sharp, the quality of being trained, the quality of being educated. Do you think all these things can be seen? No. These things are only felt, right? So it is intangible and it is not sold. It cannot be sold. Can you sell the quality of a person? No, never. Only its services are sold. So students, we can sell it in the sense that its services are used by some other person. For example, if you become a doctor in the future, then you will be serving lakhs and lakhs of people, right? So your service will be hired by people. So that's how we can say that your services are sold, but the human being itself cannot be sold. So another point of difference is physical capital is separable from its owner. Yes, suppose a person is having a building, it can be easily separated from its owner. But students, is it possible to separate your qualities from yourself? No. Can I separate you from your intelligence? No. Can I separate you from your training? No. So in case of human capital, it cannot be separated from its owner. It is a lifelong companionship between the person and his qualities. Whatever qualities I have possessed today, I will carry them forever in my life. They will be a part of my life forever, right? So this is another difference between physical capital and human capital. Physical capital, it can be built by imports also. We can buy the things from other country. So that is the meaning of import, right? So physical capital can be built by import also. We can buy the machines from abroad. We can buy the various technologies to make the machines, right? So the various physical capitals can be brought from abroad. But human capital is built by conscious policy formulation of state and its expenditure. But how can we build human capital? Human capital is built by the various policies that are made by the state. That means if the government formulates policies related to education, related to health. From those policies, the people will be able to avail the benefits, right? If the government set up good schools, then the children will be able to go to good school, and there they will be able to get education, from where they will turn into human capital. So students, human capital cannot be imported, rather it is built by conscious policy formulation of the state and its expenditure. Then the next point of difference is it creates private benefits. So students, physical capital mainly serves the purpose of creating private benefit. For example, if I have set up a manufacturing unit, I will be able to have more and more profit from it. So profit is a private benefit. But students, if I become a doctor, if I become a scientist, I can work for the cause of the country. I can work in the rural areas if I am a doctor, and I can treat the sick people there, right? So in case of human capital, it creates both private as well as social benefits. So students, if you are a doctor, you can cure people. You will get the blessings of people if you cure them. So it is a social benefit. Also, you will be able to earn money by taking it as a profession. So you will be able to have private benefits as well. So students, in case of physical capital, it only creates private benefit. It increases one's income, it increases one's profit, but it does not create any social benefit. But human capital creates both private as well as social benefit. That means once you turn into a human capital, you can be beneficial for yourself as well as for others in the society. Factors of human capital development. So students, how can we develop human capital? How can we form human capital? The first one is imparting education. That means by giving education to a person, we can help him to turn into human capital. We all know that education makes a person intellectual. Education gives direction to the life of a person. If a person is educated, he knows exactly what he has to do in his life, right? So education makes a person a productive member of the society. On-job training. So students, on-job training means the provision of giving training to the various employees who are doing a certain kind of a job. So training also polishes the skills of a person. Education gives us theoretical knowledge, but training helps us to apply those knowledge in a practical from a practical point of view, right? So training helps us to shape our knowledge from a practical perspective. Third one is manpower planning. So students, manpower planning means putting the right person in the right kind of job at the right time. So manpower planning means to allocate the people according to the job which suits them the most. For example, students, if you have a dream of becoming a pilot, but if I force you to become a teacher, will you be able to be a good teacher? No, because your dream is to be a pilot. That's where your mind is, that's where your heart is. So you will only do the best where you feel like doing, right? So manpower planning means simply allocating the people to different kinds of jobs according to their qualities and according to their suitability, right? And the next important factor of human capital development is health and nutrition. So students, we all know how important health is in the life of a person. If a person is not healthy, he cannot do anything in his life. Even if he has a huge amount of money, even if he belongs to a very well-to-do family, if he is not healthy, he cannot serve any purpose, right? If he is not fit enough, how will he serve the country? How will he bring any kind of glory to the country, right? So for a person to turn into a human capital, the first and foremost thing is he should be educated. Education gives him the knowledge. Education will give him the direction in his life. Second thing, on-job training. So students, training will polish the skills of the person which he has gathered through his education. So training will give him practical knowledge. Education gives the theoretical knowledge. Training will make him able to use those theoretical knowledge in his practical life. Manpower planning, to put the right person at the right place. We should be able to allocate the people according to their suitability. We should be able to put the right person at the right work. If I put a doctor in the place of an engineer, he will never be able to perform as well as the engineer. So it is very important to allocate the manpower according to their wish and will. And then last point is health and nutrition. Health is another major determining factor of human capital development. If a person is healthy, if a person is fit, then only he can contribute something to the society. Then only he can add value to the development of the country. An unhealthy or an unfit person cannot do anything productive for the society. So students, let us now discuss the role of human capital. So why is human capital considered important or significant? So a country develops if the human capital is developed. So students, the way to development of a country is if its human beings, if its people are developed. So if its people are educated, so if its people are healthy, if the people are trained, so that paves the way for the development of the country. Improve quality life. So students, human capital paves the way for a quality life. A person, if he is educated, if he is trained, then he will be able to earn more. His earning sources will become better, and that's when he will be able to lead a quality life. Create positive attributes. So students, human capital creates positive benefits for himself as well as for the society. His earnings will increase, his standard of living will rise, he will be able to contribute something to the society and to the country. So these will create positive attributes. This will turn everything into a positive aspect, right? And the last one is eradication of social backwardness. So students, the various social backwardness, like the various primitive mindsets, the various orthodox mindsets, the superstitious beliefs, it takes place because the people are uneducated. But if we educate the people, they will be able to differentiate between what is good and what is bad. So this will help to eradicate the social backwardness. The people will try to modernize themselves. Their thinkings will become broader. If a person is uneducated, his thinkings, not everyone, but in most cases what happens, an uneducated person is not able to think in a broader manner. But if he is educated, he will be able to think from a broader perspective. So it will lead to the eradication or elimination of various social backwardness. So students, this is why human capital is considered very much important. The last topic of our today's class, students, human capital versus physical capital. Although both the capital are important in any kind of production activity, human capital is considered superior to physical capital. And there is a reason behind this, because students, the various physical capitals are used by the human capital. If there is no human capital, who will use the machines? Who will use the land? Who will use the devices? So there has to be the human capital who will make use of the physical capital. It is the human capital who can turn the physical resources into capital. It is human capital who can utilize the various physical capital. In the absence of human capital, the physical capital cannot become useful on its own. The machines cannot run on their own, right? The land will not become productive on its own. Someone will have to work on the land, right? Then only the land will be able to grow crops. So students, it is human capital which can make use of the physical capital. The physical capital cannot become useful or productive on its own. So students, this is the last topic of our today's class. Let us now discuss the homework for today's class. The first question, define human capital. So here you are supposed to write the definition of human capital. Second question, distinguish between human capital and physical capital. So you can take the points from the slides, but students, make sure that you frame your own sentences while making the answer. The third question, human capital is considered superior over physical capital. So just now we have discussed this, because the physical capital is utilized by the human capital. Without human capital, the physical capital cannot become useful on its own. Then the next question, state the factors that can lead to human capital formation. So the various factors are education, on-job training, manpower planning, and health and nutrition. Explain the role of education and health in this regard. So you have to write in separate paragraphs about the role of education and health in creating human capital. So education is needed to give us the knowledge, and knowledge makes a person creative, right? So education makes a person education turns a person from a human resource to a human capital. And health is important because an unhealthy person cannot make any positive contributions to the society. So students, write in your own sentence, write in your own language, frame your own sentences. And students, the last date of the submission of the homework is 1st June 2020, that is Monday. You are supposed to submit your work by Monday in between 8 to 9 p.m. In case students you feel you have any doubt or difficulty, do contact me. I will surely help you. So students, on this note, let's end today's class here. See you all in your next class. Thank you. Take care and stay safe.